Online. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well in Pakistan. I know it's pretty late in Pakistan. Just a quick recap on what's happening at the moment on a global scale. I think one of the major themes, obviously, is the coronavirus impact. And yesterday, many of you might have seen that the numbers are slightly varying in many of the emerging countries or the emerging economies or the markets, as we call them. You take out numbers from Brazil, Southeast Asia, Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, Central Asian countries, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, and all the other Central Asian states. And even if you further down go towards the Southeast Asian countries of Thailand, Vietnam, and Bangladesh, and all those, numbers seems to be rising up for the coronavirus. And especially, I think, in many locations, it has been very interesting on the way the different governments have handled the situation around coronavirus. And there seems to be a running theme. Wherever there is a degree of government control, in a sense that they have been really unclear about their policies, the number of cases have been increasing, the number of deaths have been increasing, and the transmission rate of the virus has been pretty high as well. You take the example of President Bolsonaro in Brazil. On the first day, he announced and he said, we are going to have a media blackout. No one is going to report a single number about coronavirus and things will be fine. But I think 3 weeks now, Brazil is the epicenter of the rising transmission of coronavirus because you can't really just shut down information and expect something to go away. And hence, I think Brazil is suffering badly because of just the macho personality orientation or an ego of a leader who wanted to prove that he's right. And things have gone from bad to worst. Similarly, I think we've seen in America, President Trump was very adamant that he's not going to close down the U.S. economy. He's not going to put the country into a lockdown. And we see that even just in the state of New York itself, the number of cases are more than many countries together combined at the moment. And the number of deaths obviously have been quite a worrying factor in that domain as well. I think even yesterday, I think many of you might have seen that the president of Burundi actually passed away due to coronavirus. And this is the first official death of a head of a country or a head of a state that was reported globally as the president of Burundi in Africa passed away. Initially, it was reported that it is a heart attack, but there was a backlash on social media and all the other domains. And it was later on discovered and disclosed that, yes, he had a coronavirus disease and he passed away due to coronavirus. And very interestingly, and this is what I was mentioning earlier about the access to resources and the capacity of any nation or a country. There wasn't even a single ventilator available for the president of Burundi in Burundi. And there was a ventilator that was brought in by a helicopter from a neighboring nation just to make sure that there was something available for him. But again, the capacity to deal with any major outbreaks of these diseases is a major issue for global nations. Walaikum salam, Idris, you're online. Jazakallah khair for joining in as well. And I think, on the other hand, obviously, beyond coronavirus, there's been some good progress as well. Many of you might have seen the story coming out of New Zealand. I think Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she announced 2 days ago that there isn't any active case of coronavirus in New Zealand at the moment. It's a population of 6 million people. It's not a very yes, there are few less people compared to other areas, but it is still a strong enough population. Walaikum assalam, Anwar Mansoor Saab is online. I hope you're doing well in Leicester. I heard about your travels from the States into Leicester and you're still here. So it's a good thing. But yeah, I was speaking about New Zealand. So there isn't not a single active case of coronavirus. And again, it was tough initially. I think the country went into a very strict lockdown. They were tracing every single transmission case. So it wasn't an issue that you had coronavirus and that you can just go back to your normal life, or you stayed in a hospital for a few days and you can go back. Every single point of contact was actually traced by the government. And it is happening in Canada as well. Many of you might have heard about it, that I have a few work colleagues in Canada, in Toronto, and I was speaking to them the other day. Walaikum salam, I can see Rizwan Akbar Saab, he's online as well. Good to see you, Rizwan Saab. Hope everything is well on your side. But in Canada, it's still a very, very effective mechanism of tracing any point of contact. So they were asking that, okay, in Toronto, for example, the example that I was having in the capital of Canada, that it was in kind of an effect that they were tracing every single touch point of a person he had with anyone else within any location during the coronavirus peaks. In UK, I think, Anwar Mansoor Sahab, you're asking about the coronavirus position in the UK. I think for the last 2 days, it's been a slightly better picture in UK. The number of cases are decreasing, and the number of deaths, alhamdulillah, in the last 3 days were the least number of deaths that we have seen since the start of March. So I think 2 days ago we had 40 odd deaths recorded. Yesterday it was 141 deaths, but it has come down from 500 or 600 to 700 deaths that we were looking at, even 1,000 a day that we were looking at in the peak coronavirus impact. It is now coming down to in lower hundreds, and ideally it should be going down further. The rate of recovery in UK has been also, I think it's been pretty good. Number of people recovering and going back to their families and homes has been increasing. And I think one interesting element to understand what's happening in UK is that there were 2 field hospitals set up to basically combat coronavirus in UK. Many of you might have heard about it, that there's a massive big exhibition center in London known as Excel. It's actually owned by a Middle East oil company, but it is a massive exhibition center known as the EDNEC Excel in London. And it was turned into a field hospital. It was known as the Nightingale Hospital in